Good morning, traders. Today is Tuesday, November 9th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. The Pirate Traders live stream. Okay, so what are we looking at here today? Well, yesterday we pretty much just had a rotational day, right? The market spent the day kind of just bouncing around inside the previous day's range, which sends us kind of like no signals at all. It just means that the market has uncertainty at that particular moment. The overnight, I don't know why they got flip-flopped here, but the overnight, this is actually last night's overnight, and the overnight traded inside, the previous overnight and the previous day's range as well. So there's just a lot of balance happening right now. And so with all the excess that we've had pushing us up here, right, we've just had massive excess getting us up here to where price currently is. We have an expression that we use a lot called balance leads to excess and excess leads to balance. So right now, the way the market is balancing off the excess is by moving sideways. And so for that reason, I think we might potentially, it's too early to make the call officially, but I think we might potentially be creating a balancing area. That is an area where the market will trade between, okay, bouncing up and down from the high to the low, high to the low, high to the low for however many days it takes before it either breaks out to the upside or breaks out to the downside. I've put in some again, these are just guesses. This is not official yet. But this up here, yesterday's high, the high from 2 days ago, could potentially be the balancing area high. Okay. And then, sorry, let me backtrack a little bit here so I don't confuse anybody. This is actually the high. Because of the time change, they took the first hour of this profile and put it into the overnight from the night before, but this is actually the high. But I'm considering the week C period high as a potential bouncing area high because of how much volume traded right there. That's kind of where you would expect the market to have a look above and fail, where it pulls back down to the opposite end of balance. And I'm calling the balance area low where it is as well for the same reason. Because of the amount of volume we put in here, here, and here, as well as the time in this particular overnight session, and then both the open and the closing price being right here from the 14th, that sort of adds to the narrative that this could be a good balancing area low. So as for right now, this morning, same exactly as yesterday, we're opening inside the previous day's range. I expect chop. Okay. I'm looking for support inside this node of volume just below us, inside yesterday's range. So I don't think we should sell much lower than that. If we start to get down below this week M period low that we left behind yesterday, we could be looking at a little more of a pullback. Looking for support lower. And if we get above yesterday's high, as always, if we push above yesterday's high, come back down and find support, I'd be happy to look for continuation higher from there. Anything inside yesterday's range, though, I assume we're just going to get chopped this morning, and it's just going to kind of grind around. So I just want to zoom back out a bit and talk about the balancing area. So if we look at just the regular 15-minute candlesticks, right? We can see that the range is tightening here. So at some point, and it may be very, very soon here, we'll start to break out of this sort of tight range that we're getting stuck in. And then whichever side of the balancing area is tested from there will be a signal if we're bouncing. So if it pushes lower, test the lower end of that balance, find support, we target the opposite end of the balance. And if it breaks out to the upside, tests the highs and then finds resistance there, we target the opposite end of the balance to the downside. And this is a very potent trading thing. And there's very few people that will point them out before they're fully formed like this. But there's a lot of potential. If we cannot break out to the upside, it's a very good trade to target the opposite end of the downside. If we fail to break out to the downside, back to the upside, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of money to be made by taking those trades. So that is what I'm keeping an eye on a slightly longer term basis. As for now, this morning, chop. Choppity choppity chops. Naif, good morning to you. Welcome. Good to see you. Everyone, please smash that like button, by the way. Get that good luck going for you. I swear to you, it's like magic. You push that like button and all of a sudden you make tons of profits that day. Cannot explain it. But good morning, Diego. Good to see you. Cyrus back with us. Good morning. Philip, good morning to you. Oh, did I set the time wrong, Diane? My bad. I'm here now. J Trader, good morning to you. Harry, good morning. Cotton Dog, good to see you. Nicholas, good morning. Vincent, good to see you. Tom, good morning to you. Jose, welcome. Peter, hello, boys and girls. And gender fluids. Everyone's welcome. Scooball, hello. Arthur, good morning to you. Ray Miller, coming to us today from West Memphis, Arkansas. Harry, NQ support. Yeah, let's take a look at the Q. So the Q looks just like the ES. It looks like it's developing a balancing area here. I would use just a little bit below the poor high there, like 16,439-ish as a potential balancing area high, and probably just below the poor low at like 16,281-ish as a potential balancing area low. But that too looks like it's balancing. As far as potential support this morning, let's zoom right on in. So obviously where it currently found support in that node of time and volume from the overnight. Whoops. Right in here. So the lower level of that being like 16,352.50. That's the first support. It's tough to call an exact level because the market has spent so much time grinding around in here. It can really find support anywhere in here. If I had to give like super specific levels, the closing price of yesterday, so 16,330. This area looks like it's got some support right here. 16,300. But you get that close to the poor low, you're likely to repair it. Yeah, that's where I'd tag support there on the queue. Back to the ES. Green Trader, hey, new here, welcome. We're happy to have you. Who is my mentor? It was, for the most part, I mean, I've been learning for years and years, so I've taken in information from so many different sources, but the main two would be Peter Resnicek at Shadow Trader and Jim Dalton at Jim Dalton Trading. Those are the two main biggies in terms of developing the system that I use nowadays and how I look at the market. JG with the GM. Good to see you. It's been a minute, bro. Welcome back. S&P Addict. Good morning to you. Diego sold some 4700s. I don't know when they're dated, but that could be good if we start trading back down to the lower end of the balancing area or potential balancing area. It's too early to call. Phoenix, good morning to you. Ronald, good morning. Trading Donkey had the self-control not to go long when I woke up to pee at 3 a.m. Where were we at 3 a.m.? Oh boy, that's right, when it pushed. Well, you would have had to have woken up at like 5 a.m. to get out of it. So, good call. Arthur, thank you for the like button reminder. Really appreciate those smashes. Also, the gentle taps. Really, any interaction with the like or subscribe button is appreciated. Peter. Fair enough. Freddie, good morning to you. Bow Bow, good morning to you. Trading Donkey, that's a bull flag. You must be talking about what I was drawing on the chart earlier. But if it's a bull flag and it breaks out to the upside, what will it do when it gets up there towards that all-time high? Does it just kind of poke up here and then pull back down? Or does it poke up, find support, and then look for continuation higher? If it pokes down, to me, that will be a beautiful short for continuation to the opposite end. But of course, it's too early to see. What do I think about opening near yesterday's high, like the NQ today? It doesn't jump out to me as anything particularly exciting opening there. It does make the overnight inventory a little bit net long, right? Our market closed here and opened up here. So you would expect a little bit of a counter auction, but it's clear that this market is just balancing, right? You can just see that the way all the volume and time is just overlapping. So it's hard to get super excited about anything in rotation. It's much easier to wait until you have an idea of where the market's trying to go. So getting above yesterday's high and coming back down to find support, that would interest me. Maybe we can keep going. Back to the ES. Oh, you're saying the NQ looks like a bull flag. Or really more like that. Bow bow. This stream would be more exciting if you showed your trade entries. Yeah, more exciting for you and way more fucking stressful for me. No, thank you. I did that for like the first 6 months. I just did not trade as well. The added pressure made it much harder for me. Donkey, we do boring here. I don't know if that's a good slogan. I don't know if that's winning marketing right there. Pirate traders, we do boring here. Okay, so again, right around this week end period low that we left behind yesterday, there's a lot of support in here. A lot of volume and time that's been spent in here. But if we start to get below that, we may need to head down and start repairing some of this weakness. Potentially even that poor low. Cotton Dog, first stop on the downtown train is 4691, yesterday's volume point of control. Yes, sir. I would call it 9025, just because there's a weak reference right there. But you're looking in the right spot. There you go, Donkey. That's a much better slogan. Pirate traders, hours and hours of bore punctuated by moments of sheer adrenaline and terror. Got to see if we can fit that on a coffee mug. Okay, so volume's getting thin on the way down. That is a sign that we're running out of sellers. So looking for support around this weak reference, somewhere in here. Internals are clearly trending down here. So as the NQ pushes into this 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles, we see it as that active support, and it's not. It's very common you find support there for at least a quick bounce, and it just pushed right through. So that might be the signal. They need a little bigger pullback here. Looking for support. If yesterday's low breaks, the poor low comes into play. Left behind from the 5th. Ocean Blue, yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a good call. You don't want to start comparing yourself to other traders, even if it's unintentional, right? If you're paying attention to how much money they're making, you're starting to, like, you can't help it, right? You're a human being. We're programmed to compare ourselves to other people. So you start to think, well, if he's making all this money, why aren't I? And then that causes emotional distress that's not necessary. You're not competing against anyone other than yourself. It's you versus you every day, and that's all that matters. So the more noise you can block out, the better. I think that's a good call. Let's jump over to the NQ. So same story on the NQ. I know it's not as big of a trade, but they break yesterday's low. They're most certainly going to go take out that poor low from the 15th, for the 5th, not the 15th. Whoopsie. Okay, so now the ES is testing that low from yesterday as well. Again, if it breaks, we probably need a bigger pullback. Donkey's got a good point. Overnight's put in some support here 2 nights in a row. But poor lows are strong magnets for the market, as well as a potential balancing area low. So that seems like a good target to me. Okay, so I'm going to switch myself to bearish here, but that's only very short term. Just looking for strong support. When you're inside a balancing area, you can find support anywhere and start pumping right back up. So I'm just bearish for a little bit more of a pullback until I start to see a trend change in the ticks. Arthur, I would encourage you to not worry about the news. There's always bad news. There's bad news every day. There's good news every day. There's always something pushing the market around. But all that matters is what it's doing in the moment. And right now, it's just balancing off excess. We've had weeks and weeks of a straight push higher, and it just needs to spend some time balancing. That's all. No greater explanation necessary. We've got our price levels. We know where the market's probably going to find support and turn around. And so we just wait to see what happens when it gets there. The first one is right where it's at right now, where the overnight's been finding support the last few nights. The next is with the repair of this poor low. There's a dip below here and then start to push back up. If so, we're likely to get a big push higher. And who cares why? Who cares what's happening in the news? Okay, tempo picking up. It's feeling like a liquidation. We're starting to squeeze out some of the longs that were jumping in earlier this morning and in the overnight. This is definitely a liquidation break. Okay. So if I'm right about a balancing area, this was a look below. So if the market finds support here and starts trading back up into the range, it's actually bullish. But if we continue lower from here, then it's a signal we need to head down and repair weakness below, which is extremely bearish, as there is a lot of weakness below. Okay. So buyers are starting to step in right there at that potential balancing area low. Remember, a look below and fail. Where it pulls back above, that is extremely potent for upside continuation to the opposite end. So obviously it's a little too early, but that could be what's happening here. Okay, buyers are stepping in. I'm back to neutral, as that is a beautiful spot to find support. All right, this is the make it or break it moment. The buyers have to step in here. If not, the B period starts to trend lower, and we're looking at a bigger pullback. All right, well, now we're trending down. Value is lower. Trending down. Didn't find support in this area where we expected to. So these are signals that the market might need a larger pullback. That is a good low with good excess at the moment. Good taper as well. All right, back to being bearish for continuation. The buyers are nowhere to be found down here, so we're going to have to put the market on sale to bring in some more buyers. So potential support is going to be this node here from the 4th, then this one here from the 3rd. If we get through the base of the spike from the 3rd there, which should also act as some support, look out below because there's very thin volume up in here. We also have a set of single prints that need backfilling. So if we get down into there, we can get a big drop. But obviously it's too early to make that call. Just thinking ahead so that if it happens, I won't be shocked. At this moment, I'm just trying to remind myself not to allow the volatility and the tempo, the speed that it's moving, and how far it's pushing up and down and up and down, not to let that distract me from the basic concepts of the two-way auction process. They tested a low, and right now they're bringing in volume. So is it more buyers or sellers? At the moment, it's more sellers. Of course, because of how powerful a look below and fail is, right? Looking below and then pulling back up, you'd love to jump into a long trade here, but not until you've got confirmation from the ticks. Not until you can see that there are clearly more buyers stepping in. Otherwise, it's just computers sucking up people's money, getting them all emotional. Okay, so the ticks are fighting their way back up. The buyers are stepping in here. But for there to be more buyers than sellers, they got to get that tick above the zero line. So as long as they stay below that zero line, it is sellers piling in here, more so than buyers. All right, they're starting to bring in the buyers. They're getting it above that zero line. Seeing that has me back to neutral. Now, can they stay above this node that was acting as resistance? Can it now become support? Okay, buyers are winning here. I'd love to see them pull back down into this node around 70 and find support there. Man, this market is freaking moving today. So I'm bullish on the liquidation break, finding support at the balance area low, combining that with the fact that it was a look below and fail. The first target is retracing the liquidation break. Jesus. Somebody just jumped in with some size. The first thing is to retrace the liquidation break, which actually we kind of just did. It broke in here. And then looking for resistance there. If they get through that, it literally targets the opposite end of balance. Sorry, guys. Man, so many comments while I've been staring at the chart. Fixated. Jang, strange question. Dear Charles, what is the difference between a low and a weak low and a poor low? Yeah, it's a strange moment to be asking about weak and poor references, but yeah, they both need repair. Poor lows have a much higher probability of being repaired. Weak references are first and foremost just a signal of who the traders are, that it's short-term traders that are doing the buying or selling at that level. And the more of them that you stack up, the more likely that they will be repaired. But poor references are very, very commonly repaired. Okay, so here's the back test of what was resistance. Is it going to become support? Ooh, no clear signal yet from the internals. So it's tricky to know exactly where the liquidation break started. I think it was like right here. It's tricky to know though. So the way liquidation breaks work, which is when the market started falling really quickly, um, is that you almost always retrace them. But once you get back to the point where they broke, then you can bring in new sellers. So that's the only thing that's sort of going counter to my bullish feeling right now, is the idea that if we did retrace it and now we're bringing in more sellers, we're likely to get further downside continuation. But it's kind of hard to read just because we were so early in the day. It's hard to know exactly where it broke. So at this point, I remain bullish as long as this area acts as support. But if we get below 69.25, I think we're looking at a bigger pullback. It's something that I've observed, over the last few months, is that the market uses this tempo and volatility to squeeze people. This is the tool that it uses now. It just grinds and grinds, always at these pivotal levels where it's like, if it's going to go lower, you want to be short here. But if it's going to go higher, you want to be long here. And so your brain is going nuts, being like, oh, should I go long? Should I go short? And you're just getting whipsawed into trades. But that's the mechanism that the market uses nowadays, is it just uses massive volatility very, very quickly so that your brain doesn't have time to compute what to do. So I'm trying to counteract that by focusing on those very specific points. Will the previous resistance become support? Ignore the movement and just focus on that. Can those ticks get back above the zero line? Which they are. Don't let the volatility freak me out. David V, 69.25 because of the buying tail. No, just because that's where the volume ends. It's the last pink candle. So if they're going to find support, it's going to be where the volume is. Okay, if you're long in here, you may want to just move your stop above break even. Now that we've retested the support, we should get upside continuation. If they pull back down into here, they may break through it. But of course, you want to stay in the trade because the potential for upside continuation from the bottom of a balancing area is very far, being the opposite end of balance. Still bullish, just changing to let people know I'm going to end the stream in a few minutes. All right, well, if this held this area the first time we tested it, but the more and more we poke at it, the weaker it'll become. So like I said, if you're in a long, you want to move your stop above break even here, because if we start to get back below, the further down we go, the more likely we're going to get continuation. The battle is being fought, the two-way auction process. Who's going to win, the buyers or the sellers? Whichever does, will get some oomph in their particular direction. So just to kind of zoom out here a bit and put this into perspective for you. This is the area where the two-sided trade is taking place. It's buyers versus sellers competing. If the buyers win and the market can hold this as support, they will target the opposite end of balance, which is up there at the highs from Friday. Okay, there's a very big potential upside move. But if they break lower, there's a lot of weakness down here in need of repair. Now, I'm not saying we'll get all the way down into here, but one stop at a time, it'll come down here, repair this, look for support. If this one fails, it'll definitely get down, backfill those single prints. If you don't find support there, You got another set of single prints that need backfilling. If you don't find support there, you got a poor low in need of repair, and it'll just keep going like that. Just one after another, working its way down here and repairing the weakness, looking for support at each one. So this two-way auction that's happening right here is very important, because whichever way it breaks, it's got some volatility. And with that, I say goodbye. All right, C period, almost getting the cessation of one time framing here. But it is technically trending at this point down still. Need to get 2 more ticks above that C high. So it's really important that this holds as support. But as I mentioned, the more times we poke at it, the weaker it'll get. So we need the buyers to start giving us some upside continuation here. I will never promise not to sing. Singing is uncontrollable. It just happens. I just start doing it. All right, so there's the cessation of one time framing. So now the market is rotational, which just means the momentum to the downside has come to an end. And to me, it's now feeling like it could be a look below and fail, targeting the upper end. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you want to stay for the rest of the day, all you got to do is join the Brigade. It's $10 a month, less than a couple cups of coffee, less than a single tick on the ES. If you could just get one single tick of profit because of something I say, it pays for itself. There's a link in the description. You can join anytime and you can cancel anytime. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you here tomorrow morning. If you're in the Brigade, I'll see you on the private stream. Ba-dum-bum-bow.